Earthlings out there, just wanted to say,
We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home. We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home.
Welcome back to The Woke Show. This is episode 17, and today we'll be talking about fire and ice in relation to climate change. I'm Charlie Peck, and again joined by my co-host Brady Monahan.
It's always a pleasure, Charlie. Today, I'm going to kick off our podcast by celebrating National Barber Mental Health Awareness Day.
Indeed, and a very happy birthday to the late Malcolm X as well.
And also congrats to JoJo Siwa to making it to 19 years old. It feels like it was just yesterday when you were dancing on Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition.
Okay, so for those who have been living under a rock for the past couple of years, we've been experiencing a change in our climate. This is due to carbon and other harmful gases being released into the atmosphere, an influx of waste, and many other reasons.
Because of this, we experience nightmarish disasters and other signs that Mother Nature is not happy with us. We've seen terrifying wildfires, extreme glacial melt, and disruption to numerous animals' habitats.
So we gathered a few questions from our listeners that we'll go over a bit today. Our first question that comes from Jose is, how is climate change increasing the number of wildfires?
Well, that is a great question, Jose. Let's take a look at this graph from the EPA. So basically the graph shows the increase of acres burned by wildfires over the last 40 years. X-axis tells us the number of years with increments of 5 years, and the Y-axis shows the area of burned acres by the millions with increments of 2 million. We can see that the containment of the fires in recent years is at an all-time low. The graph shows acreage burned by wildfires in recent years, and the numbers are shocking.
Yeah, even just comparing the number reported by the NIFC from the peak in 1985 with almost 2.5 million acres, which is still a lot, but compare that with the peak in 2020 with 10 million acres. This article from CNN says, while there are many factors that influence wildfires, it is climate change that is making them bigger and more frequent, and is causing them to happen in places where they previously weren't very common.
Definitely some crazy numbers there. And thank you for the question, Jose. Have a good one.
Okay, on to our next question from another listener named Karen from Bacon, Indiana. Karen, are you on the phone with us?
Yes, and thank you for having me. I heard from some of my friends that icebergs and glaciers are melting just because the Earth has cycles. We are coming out of an ice age right now, and in about another 80,000 years we'll return back into one.
Thank you for the question. There is substantial evidence that while the cycle does exist, the average temperature on Earth is increasing at a rate never seen before.
Brady is right.
As always.
Take a look at this graph from NOAA. The x-axis shows us the years represented from 1880 through 2020. Looking at the y-axis, we can see the average surface temperature difference in Celsius. We can see in recent years that Earth's surface temperature has risen and is rising still.
The article also says that in addition to our surface station data, we have multiple different lines of evidence that our Earth is warming. Birds are migrating earlier and their migration patterns are changing. Lobsters and other marine species are moving more north. But why is this important? Birds migrating earlier could kill them, because foods that have normally bloomed are still coming out of dormancy, causing starvation for the birds. Lobsters and other marine species moving north could screw up economies that are closer to the equator. For example, in 2016, seafood had a total economic effect of $407.6 million in Florida alone. Keep that in mind, that it's only from seafood.
If we think about all of the jobs created by aquatic life worldwide, we can see the total effect that it would have on our economy.
That's what I'm saying.
It also mentions other forms of evidence like the glaciers are melting and plants are blooming sooner.
Great question, Karen. But it turns out that your friends only told you some half-truths. Make sure that your sources are valid and trustworthy before coming on our show.
Well, sorry about that to all of our headphone listeners. This actually reminds me of an article from Vox.com I found saying that if all of the ice in Antarctica melted, it would raise the global sea level about 200 feet. It sounds scary, but the temperature is already projected to increase by 3 degrees Celsius in the next century.
Yeah, and if you add on to the pictures that we've seen from Antarctica, with polar bears and penguins stranded on ice rafts, it doesn't seem that unrealistic anymore.
I saw some pictures from the OK Glacier from that same article. The glacier in Iceland lost its title as glacier in 2014 due to losing so much of its ice. If you see the comparison of what it looked like 30 years ago from a satellite versus now, it will literally blow you away.
I'll have to check that out. It has to be very harmful for a variety of reasons. Hydropower, loss of habitat.
Tourism.
Exactly. It's also worth noting that that glacier in particular is not the only one suffering. All the other glaciers in Iceland and other places are experiencing the same thing. It's the combination of all the glacial melt that is going to prove harmful.
And that's the same for all things. A few parties trying to change the world are not going to have much effect. But if we all pitch in and try to save the planet, we can actually do some damage in stopping these tragedies from happening.
Even if everyone does something little to help, we can make a huge change. For example, if everyone donated things that they didn't need anymore, or clothes that didn't fit, we can save so much space in our landfills.
These choices are becoming more accessible. I say this as electric cars become more available and affordable, we make advancements in renewable energy, and much more.
I think that right now, our biggest threat is the people who deny that these things are occurring. We can't make a change if only 5% of us are willing to do anything.
The best way we can prove this is by showing the people who do not believe what is happening. We know that they will be stubborn and will likely reject it. But if we can show them using relatable information that they can notice in their own lives, maybe we can gain some ground.
I consider myself well-versed in a lot of things related to climate change, but even then, I still actively seek to better understand and inform myself on how I can change.
Good for you. Everyone should, so that we can expose ourselves to what is actually going on with our planet right now.
And on that note, we'll wrap up today's episode of The Woke Show. Tune in next week for an episode about the war between Russia and Ukraine and how it's affecting global warming and climate change.
We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home. We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home.
Earthlings out there.
Welcome back to The Woke Show. This is episode 17, and today we'll be talking about fire and ice in relation to climate change. I am Charlie Peck, and again joined by my co-host, Brady Monahan.
It's always a pleasure, Charlie. Today we'll be starting off our podcast by celebrating National Barber Mental Health Awareness Day. Make sure to thank your barber.
I would also like to wish a very happy birthday to the late
Charlie!
Malcolm X. Welcome back to The Woke Show. This is episode 17, and today we'll be talking about fire and ice in relation to climate change. I'm Charlie Peck, and again joined by my co-host, Brady Monahan.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Charlie. Today, it's National Barber Mental Health Awareness Day. You got it.
And a very happy birthday to the late I can even know. Welcome back to The Woke Show. This is episode 17, and today we'll be talking about fire and ice in relation to climate change. I'm Charlie Peck, and again joined by my co-host, Brady Monahan.
It's always a pleasure, Charlie. Today, to start off our video, or our podcast, is shut up, dude.
Welcome back to The Woke Show. Oh my god. Welcome. What was that?